Setting yourself up for a successful homesteading journey requires some thoughtful planning. You don't have to have it all figured out, but it is essential to have some guidelines to follow. In this episode, I'll highlight some of the pitfalls to avoid when starting out on your journey. Some of these pitfalls are a repeat of topics we've covered in previous episodes. Still, it's very important to have a plan of action for preventing future mistakes and to know what to do when faced with problems. This is the Homesteading for Beginners podcast, and I'm Mona Weathers, your homesteading mentor and coach. If you desire to establish a solid foundation for your homesteading journey, then you are in the right place. I'm here to show you how in a way that is healthy for you, your family, and your community. I'll share stories from the past 20 years of my own journey and offer you actionable steps you can take to start and maintain a healthy homestead. The end of the year is when many of us start to think about what we want out of the new year. We start setting goals and making resolutions. I love this time of year normally, but for some it's an exciting time of year, and for others it's a stressful time of year. Whatever camp you are in, even if it's not something that you normally in, just feel in this year, coming from a position of planning and preparing is never a bad idea. If you're a homestead dreamer, this is the perfect time to plan how you want to set up your homestead. All of your planning can include ways to avoid these pitfalls that I'm going to mention. If you're a beginner homesteader, you can use this list to see where your weak spots are. Are there things you can change that will improve your next year? This is a section in the Homesteading for Beginners workbook, by the way, and you can find that workbook by visiting healthyhomesteading.com/workbook, or you can visit the link in the show notes. Real quick before I continue, I want to share a review one of the members of the Homesteading for Beginners community gave on the workbook because we're going through that workbook in the community. So this is what she says. When I get excited about new things, I have a tendency to rush into things, then quickly become overwhelmed. My homesteading dream has been no different. I'm so grateful Mona has created this valuable program plus community. She walks you through it step by step. She has helped me slow down and really think about how to begin this journey in manageable, thought-provoking exercises from her workbook. And that was from Vic. And I just want to say shout out to Vic. She's awesome, and I thank you for that review. But I just wanted you to hear from one of the members how this workbook has been for them. Okay, 7 pitfalls to avoid. Lack of planning, taking on too much too quickly, not having a supportive community, mentor, or coach, not believing you are capable, giving up instead of pressing on or pivoting, lack of savings, and lack of income. So I'm going to go through each one of these. So let's start with lack of planning. Our dreams become reality when we actively pursue them. Planning and executing those plans is the active part. So when we sit here and dream about our future and dream about what we want our homesteading life to look like, we can't just sit there and stay there. We have to actually plan for those things to happen and set your mind up to believe that they're going to be there one day. So lack of planning. You can download the Homesteader's Simple Planner that I created. I mentioned it a few times. You can get that by visiting healthyhomesteading.com/planner or follow the link in the show notes. The next pitfall is taking on too much too quickly. Really evaluate how much time and money you have to invest and do some research and planning in this area as well. There's such a thing as chicken math. I don't know if you've heard it, but it can be dangerous. It's where you buy a couple chicks and then all of a sudden you have 50 chickens. It just happens. I don't know how it works, but it just happens. So really, before that happens, really think about how much energy do you want to put into the projects that you have? How much capacity do you have for certain things? And understand that each time you add something, that takes your energy away from other things. Not having a supportive community, mentor, or coach is another area. In my stories, I've talked about I had a mentor that helped me start my journey. And it was really good because she helped me avoid some of the pitfalls. And part of it we were learning together, but she was ahead of me in a lot of areas. So I could go ask her for advice. But if you don't have a mentor, or you do have a mentor, but you want a more of a community, just find it. There are places you can find local communities, and there are places you can find online communities. And you know that I have a community, and if you don't know that, I have a community that you can join if you're a beginner homesteader, where I walk you through all of the things that I feel are very important, and we go through the workbook that I mentioned before. The next is not believing you are capable. Your mindset is the most important work you can do for your homesteading experience. Your mindset is so important. Taking your thoughts captive and working through mental obstacles as they come. But I think a lot of us, and this may be you, I know it's me sometimes, we look at these Instagram people that are doing amazing things and there's nothing wrong with it, but then we feel like we should be doing those things too. And then possibly we feel like, how in the world am I able to add that to my life? I'd love to be able to milk a cow and make butter and do all that, but how am I going to add that to my life? But there's things that, like it just depends on what's most important to you. You don't have to add those things to your life, but if that's a very important part of your journey, that you want to have a milk cow, then you'll find a way to do it. It's just how it works. You'll find a way to do it. You may have to sacrifice by not doing other things, but that may also be worth it for you. Everybody has the same 24 hours, but we use it in different ways. So there's no wrong to this. It's just learning your capacity, knowing how to get things off of your list so you can add other things to your list that you really want to do more. The next is giving up instead of pressing on or pivoting. I did a whole episode on this topic, which was episode 6, talking about pressing on and pivoting instead of giving up. So you can go listen to that if you'd like. But there's going to be rough times. You're going to have rough times. I mean, we can't live life without that. But we can have a plan for how we're going to react to the bad times, to the things that are going to be difficult in our life. So that's what the whole thought is on the pressing on and pivoting episode. So go check that out. Lack of savings is the next one, and that is a hard one for a lot of people. It is for our family for sure. But it's important to have some sort of savings set aside for the times that things go wrong. And they will go wrong. But like we said before, we're going to have the mindset of moving forward, having the mindset of pivoting and pressing on. But if you have a savings cushion, that really does help. So start saving money as soon as you can. Projects on the homestead can be expensive. Keep replenishing your savings account if it becomes depleted after, using it on a project. And then lack of income. Lack of income is also an issue that a lot of homesteaders and homestead dreamers are dealing with. Set yourself up for success and longevity by having a plan for generating income. And don't put all your eggs in one basket, pun intended. Have some options. Have multiple income streams. I talked about having 3 income streams in episode 13, where it's titled How to Avoid Becoming a Broke Homesteader. So check that out also. But yes, having a plan for your income is really a way to set yourself up right and to avoid this big pitfall where you may get to where you just don't have enough money for your lifestyle. I'm going to be pressing into this lack of income pitfall in the new year. I've mentioned before but it's the biggest pain point for homestead dreamers and new homesteaders. And I want to help you create a strong income stream that allows you to pursue your homesteading dreams and goals and not be all stressed out about it. So details will be coming on that soon, like how I'm going to help you. But I can tell you the first thing I'm going to be offering you is something that will help you generate an online income by selling your own digital products, because that's the least barrier of entry. It doesn't cost as much to set up, and you can scale that pretty well if you're doing it the right way. So now I'm going to offer you 3 ways to ensure you avoid these pitfalls. Okay? Be prepared with your mindset. Know that things may move at a snail's pace. Remember, we talked about the timeline. Let go of that timeline. Write your goal in pen. Write how you're going to get there in pencil. But just concentrate on progress and not perfection. So that was number 1. Number 2, get your supplies and tools ready ahead of time. What are the things that you need that will keep you moving forward? Is it like a journal, a notebook, or conversations with like-minded people, or all of those things? Like, what is it going to be that's going to help you keep your goals throughout next year? You know what they are, I think. If you just ask yourself a couple questions, like literally ask yourself these questions and say, hey, Mona, or, that's me. But hey, what is it that makes me move things forward, and how do I keep that going? Let me tell you a little story. Okay, so I am the worst at keeping track of my keys, and I used to have the biggest problem with keeping track of my keys. I was the big purse person, and it would be in there, or I'd set it down somewhere. Finally, I really literally got so frustrated with this stupid thing with me losing my keys and spending all this time trying to find my keys. I just took a nail and a hammer, and I put a nail in the wall by the back door. Like, I just made, my little nail and hammer. I had a nail, and that's where I put my keys. For years I did that, and I never lost my keys again, not very often, not as often. My keys were just hung up there. It was a simple thing that kept me going. It was a simple thing. I mean, a nail in the wall. Like, that's so simple. But I think a lot of times we just go and we spend 20 minutes trying to find our keys for years and years and years. And that's like 20 minutes, like all that time that we could have saved, all that energy that we could have saved if we just put the nail in the wall. It didn't have to look pretty. It can just be functional. I mean, don't get all into the, perfect. Just make it functional. And number 3 is get your ducks in a row. And also, pun intended, figure out where your focus needs to be first. Work on that before moving on to something else. Figure out where your focus needs to be first. Work on that before moving on to something else. Like, if you need to have enough income to start your homestead or expand your homestead, work on savings and income first. Become really good at focus on the thing that is next. Focus on the most important thing that is next. And then just keep doing that over and over and over again, and you will make progress. A really good way to track how your next year is going to go is to write at the beginning of the year. So, right at the end of this year, write in a journal or something your thoughts about the coming year and your thoughts about the year that is ending. And think about, just write down your thoughts, because if you write down your thoughts at the beginning of the year, then at the end of the year, you can see how far you've come. I think it's so, and I'm guilty of this too, it happens so easy that we forget how far we have come. We forget how our mindset was before. We forget how much work we got done. We forget how closer we are to our goal, because we're constantly thinking we don't have enough. We're not there. We're not close enough. So we forget how far we've come. So do that, and that will maybe help you And throughout the year, it's always good to write in it in your journal as well. But you know how I feel about journals if you've listened to me at all in my last episodes. Okay, that's it for this week. I'd love to hear how this episode has resonated with you. If you want to tag me in your Instagram stories, I'd love to see what you got and hear what your plans are for the new year. If you are enjoying this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would take a minute to subscribe or follow. By doing this, you will be helping the podcast to be seen by more people, and I do love reading nice reviews too. Don't forget to visit healthyhomesteading.com for more information on how I can serve you. Until next week, I want you to keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep planning for your homesteading success.